RCTP Level 4, 510C to 511A, Part 2. Stable versus fluid.
At the beginning of this program, I mentioned to beginners that putting their weight in the middle of their foot creates a stable position. You can also create a stable position by putting your weight towards your heel. What I suggested to them was to start to shift their weight to the beginning of their foot and up to their toes to start to create a more fluid position. At this rock climbing level, you should now be thinking about when to use a stable position and when to use a fluid position. What I notice is on some of my rock climbs, I'll get up to a hold and I'll put myself into a stable position to make one of the moves. And then sometimes I do forget to move my foot into a new position and replace my toe to move it into now a more fluid position so that I can now get higher up the climb. Knowing when to use a stable position and when to use a fluid position on the exact same hold is a very key component of this level of rock climbing.
I watched someone struggle at this route at a little bit higher up position where he was on this hand hold and he kept it in a stable position and didn't want to move to a fluid position. So the hold I'm talking about is the very next one. And what he wanted to do was always grip this on the side, which is kind of more of like a back row position, and like it's very strong, like you're very stable, but as you can see, he couldn't reach the next hold. He kept like trying and struggling to reach the next hold. So what I got him to do is move his hand into the middle of the hold, which makes this more of a fluid position, but it's not as powerful because now you're actually moving into more of like a tricep press down, which isn't as strong as obviously a back row. Foot smear, hand smear. A smear is like using the wall as a foot or a handhold. So here I am on this volume using a foot smear and I'm just like pressing against the volume. And then I go to a hand smear. Again, I'm just pressing against the wall and I'm using it like it would be a handhold there. And this is kind of like I'm just standing up on the wall with either just my legs or even just with my hands, kind of more of like just doing a like mantle with using the wall itself. Stemming your foot. Here's an example of a person stemming. So Brian is just using the wall. He has his left foot just directly against the wall. Now you can either use your whole foot or even just a toe. It doesn't really matter, but when he moved into this position, it now makes it easier for him to actually clip this hold. So that's why he's choosing to use a foot stem rather than keeping himself in potentially a different position where he wouldn't be able to easily make this clip. Let's watch Brian alternate between smearing and stemming a wall. So he first begins by smearing the wall, which is like standing up with using the wall. So as you see here, this is more of a foot smear. And then he moves towards stemming against the wall, which is kind of like pressing against the side of the wall with the side of your foot. So this is more of a foot stem. And then he's going to move into more smearing, which is kind of like this, where he's standing up from the wall. So you can use both and just, think about master deliberate moves.
At the 510C to 511A level, you now have to start getting better at hitting the hold the right way the first time. Okay, so this is now mastering deliberate moves. So I can no longer really go to this crimp over here and just hit it on the side. So if I'm going really fast and I hit it like this, I'm not going to make that move. I now have to get to the point where I totally just hit it right the first time. Okay, and this takes a little bit of timing and just work, but you're like, boom, hit it right the first time. We used to call this move like laser fingers, where you're like, I want it to go exactly there, so you're like, boom, right in position. Okay, and this is now a new skill that you kind of have to get better at doing while you're rock climbing, because you don't have the ability to, on some of these climbs, to like hop around your hand. You have to make your hands and feet really uncontrolled. They can't be sloppy.